Am I the asshole for refusing to return a tip and telling a couple that I don't have time to play mediator? I'm a 22-year-old, female waitress at Texas Roadhouse. This is one of my 2 jobs to put myself through college. Most days are fine, but other days are a living hell. Yesterday I was assigned a table that had a husband, wife and what appeared to be a teenage daughter, maybe 17. Everything was going smooth at first and the wife ordered a margarita. The husband then tried ordering a beer. The wife instantly lost her noodles and said, no. He will not have a beer. He will have a water. She then turned to him and said something along the lines of him not needing to drink because he was driving. He said no, the daughter could drive. It was childish. Anyways, he keeps telling me he wants a beer. She keeps telling me no. In this industry, situations like this are a lose-lose for waitresses. If I get him the beer, wife want tip. If I don't get him the beer, he want tip. Damned if I do, damned if I don't. So while they were arguing at me, I said, listen, I really don't have time to play mediator here. They went silent. I went and got both of them their alcohol. Daughter gives me an apologetic look upon my return, presumably because her mother was acting batshit crazy upon seeing me bring a beer in tow. Flash forward to after their meals. Husband has had 2 beers at this point. Wife has stopped drinking and glares at me every time I return. Wife and daughter go to the car while husband pays. Husband drops me a $40 tip on a $68 tab. I told him I couldn't accept it. He insisted. Eventually I pocketed it. Wife comes in an hour or so later demanding that I give her the $40 her husband gave me, stating that I was a terrible host and went against her and I dknt deserve a tip. She got my manager involved who said, she is not obligated to give you her tip. You left the restaurant and the tip has already been processed. Have a nice night. She was fuming, screaming at me about how much of an asshole I was for supplying her husband alcohol after she said no. Other guests started chiming in saying that she was being ignorant and that I was doing my job, which is to provide guests with what they want, and said that it wasn't my fault that she was a controlling wife. She storms out. Given the fact that I was put on the spot like that, I feel insanely guilty. Am I the asshole? NTA emo, manager has your back, which is good. And the other customers as well. Really, she's pissed at her husband, not you. Edit. I think some people are reading this as if I think the wife is a harpy and drinking and driving is fine. I don't, and I have no idea what happens in their life. For all I know, he pulls this shit all the time, or she's the one who always has a glass of wine and he never gets to, etc. etc. Just it's clear the actual annoyance was not with the staff. Not the asshole, not the asshole, not the asshole. Glad your manager backed you up. Not the asshole. Their marital issues are between the husband and wife only. You did your job and brought him what he ordered. And you're more than entitled to the $40 tip for putting up with her nonsense. Edit. Sorry, I should clarify. I don't see his drinking 2 beers as an issue. I meant the issue between him and his wife that is clearly centered around drinking in the OP's post. I have edited this post to say, their marital issues, instead of, his drinking issues. You did. Perfect. Fuck that lady. You're not responsible for her insane control issues or their terrible marriage. The mom is the asshole for sure. Who comes back in demanding a refund on a tip they didn't give? The audacity. I'm glad your manager was cool about it too. Spend that $40 frivolously on yourself, you absolutely deserve it. How could you possibly be an asshole in this situation? Did you just need a venue to vent this all happened? Who in the history of ever would be guilty that a petulant customer came back to harass you and demand money back that her husband freely gave you? I get you are 22, but if you are a server, surely you must realize people are horrible monsters, and we all here wouldn't collective label you an asshole even if you punched the woman in the face. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, obviously. Why did you even post here? NTA, you did your job. You didn't make the husband give you the tip and you stated you tried to give it back. She had no right to come back getting mad at you. That was something she should have taken up with her husband. So this story is, this lady was an asshole, but I was just doing my job. I don't think I am the asshole. My manager says I am not an asshole. Random customers chimed in to say I am not an asshole. Jesus came down and spoke to me and told me I am not an asshole, but I am not sure. Reddit, am I the asshole? Not the asshole. A lot of times, I used to think that embarrassment was built when I was younger. I had been pumped full of those happy little lies society tells women, which is that we have to be pleasers. You shouldn't feel guilty. You were probably horrified and embarrassed and didn't know how to handle it. But everyone else had your side, and that's amazing. Don't let people make you feel bad about yourself because they can't handle their s. She sounds like she is probably going to divorce that guy, and he would be lucky to be away from her. Given the fact that I was put on the spot like that, I feel insanely guilty. What? No, you don't. Not the asshole, but were you really unsure before you posted this? Feels more like it's just a satisfying story that you wanted to share, like it belongs on our petty revenge. I mean, there's just no way you actually thought we might call you an asshole for this. You don't need our input on this situation at all. Definitely not the asshole. And why would she blame you for her being a controlling wife? She seems to have done that herself. And then everyone clapped. Welcome to r Am I the Asshole? Please view our voting guide here, and remember to use only one judgment in your comment. Help keep the sub engaging. Hashtag Don, T downvote assholes. To upvote interesting posts, click here for our rules and click here for our FAQ. I am a bot, and this action was performed automatically. Please contact the moderators of this subreddit message compose to =r Amy the asshole if you have any questions or concerns. What even is the purpose of this post? Obviously no one's gonna say you are the asshole H in this situation. Not the asshole. Both you and your manager handled it well. Same cannot be said for wife. You are the asshole because this is fake, or you already know the answer and just want the karma. This should in no way raise the question, am I the asshole? Fuck off. Don't even think for a second you're the bad guy here. That guy's gonna be divorced soon and he's gonna be back there drinking beers and tipping you again, sign of the horn's light skin tone. Not the asshole for keeping the tip, but there were definitely better ways of handling it than saying, I don't have time to play mediator. Something like, I'll give you more time to decide, and walking away would have been better emo. Not the asshole. Faux manager here, I would have done the same thing your manager did. Once they're gone and shit is processed, it's done and over with. Now if the dad had come in saying there was a mistake or something and was being polite about it, then we can have the conversation. But otherwise nah. I told him I couldn't accept it. Why? Not the asshole. You said it best, you're not their mediator, and if the wife wants to act like a toddler that's her prerogative. You did your job and that will never make you an asshole. As for the wife, if she didn't want her husband to drink, she shouldn't have had a drink either. This is a pretty no-duh post, so I gotta say I'm a bit suspicious it ain't true. And if it is, it just has no place here. According to the story, the entire restaurant was on your side, yes. That answers your question. Don't really know how these posts blow up lol. So many posts here are so obviously not the asshole that any sane person wouldn't need to ask. Not the asshole, obviously, but you're definitely posting this for headpats and there are probably better subs for this story. Not the asshole, this tip wasn't given by mistake, the man wanted you to have it, they should be embarrassed by their behavior. Not the asshole. He's a grown man, if she didn't want him to have a beer then they should have talked about it long before they ever sat down and he should have agreed to it. You are not the wife's friend, buddy, confidant, or co-conspirator. It is not your job to help her control a grown adult that is making a reasonable request. NTA. It's not like you gave the alcohol to a minor or something. The husband is a fully capable person who can choose to drink or not to. He can choose himself and you can supply him what he wants. So not only did your boss side with you, which itself isn't that common in the service industry, and not the customer, but so did other patrons. Do you genuinely not know this is a not the asshole situation, or are you low-key looking for praise? Everyone sucks here. Wife and husband were both acting out of line and she had no right to demand back the tip. But since your story closes with your manager and even customers chiming in to support you, I have no clue why you would need to ask, am I the asshole here? It couldn't be more obvious. To me this seems like a karma grab. All the story needs is for the guests to clap after the confrontation ends. Not the asshole. I really didn't want to automatically judge the wife at the beginning because yeah, it seems controlling from the outside looking in, but my first thought is that they've historically had issues with him drinking in the past and she was trying to avoid that. But her behavior towards you was completely unacceptable regardless of their personal history. Not the asshole sounds kinda fake NGL. You already know you aren't the asshole here. Man shrugging, man shrugging, man shrugging. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, but honest question to everybody: do people not drive after one beer or one glass of wine? A big margarita I could understand, but one drink should not be messing up your brain that much. Not the asshole. You are not customers' mothers. It's not like you overserved him. Glad your boss backed you. She has some nerve coming back there. Not the asshole. There was so much more in play here than what you witnessed. Their issues are not yours. Not to mention you deserved the tip for how professional you were in this absurd and inappropriate spat they had. You are the asshole for making this bullshit post. I'm honestly shocked this story didn't end with, and then the husband came back to apologize and told me that he wants to leave his wife and run away with me. And I told him I couldn't accept, but he insisted, so we did, and it turns out he's a millionaire and now we're married and living in his mansion, and when we go back to eat at the old restaurant where I worked, everyone claps for us. No. On what planet are you the asshole for giving a customer exactly what they want? You weren't the one being stupid, the mom and dad were. The dad shouldn't have ordered beer if he was the designated driver, although 2 beers aren't usually enough to get an adult man inebriated enough that they can't operate a motor vehicle, but the mom should have had beef with him privately without involving her daughter or you. You did your job, you got tipped. Honestly, you deserved more for dealing with this crap. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, you are the server, not the marriage counselor. I'm not sure that bringing the beer was the best choice. Maybe pulling a, "let me give you a few more moments to decide," might have let them get the fight over with while you were away from the table, but I don't think there was a right answer for you. Hi, fellow TXRH waitress here. He put the money in your hands, first of all. She did not. Furthermore, you're 100% correct in the way you handled it. They had another person to drive and you fulfilled your role. Your manager had your back and so did everyone else. Totally not the asshole. I've been put in similar situations, and while the outcome wasn't as dramatic, someone who did not tip you cannot demand you give them the money that another tipping customer gave you. Clearly not the asshole. Not the asshole. As a child of an alcoholic and a sorta controlling mom, I have been the daughter in this situation. You handled it best you could. I will say next time, perhaps phrasing it like, "I can come back in a minute after you guys have discussed this." This might help you avoid issues with a Karen complaining to management. Not the asshole, and I'm so glad to see your manager backed you up. I fully expected it to go the other way and you still would not have been the asshole. Not the asshole, OMG, how embarrassing. Don't feel guilty. Be glad you aren't a part of that family. You deserved that $40 for sure. And good for you for speaking up for yourself. The wife sounds like she was the one who didn't need to be drinking. Coming back to get your tip. Who does that? I totally see your need to post this here. I mean, you only had your gut, your manager, the daughter's apologetic eyes, and apparently half the guests in the restaurant backing you up. You definitely need Reddit to confirm that you acted appropriately. Not the asshole, and props to your manager for having your back here. She was just a controlling virago, and her husband had enough of that. You just did your job, and, as you already said, your job is not to mediate between spouses in such matters. If there wasn't an available DD like daughter, I would say borderline YTA for not getting a manager to intervene. Maybe considered an overserving situation even though he hadn't had anything yet, ethically not legally for any internet lawyers who wanna argue with me. But since it was completely fine. And she didn't take you aside and say he's in recovery or something. Wasn't kind to you at all, or anyone for that matter. Fuck her. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. You did nothing wrong here. Wow, that would suck so bad. You were in a lose-lose situation. Not the asshole.